Alrighty, let's see here. This thing has been making noise all friggin' week. It's about time I actually probably move this out of the way. Okay, let's see here what we got. Can you see the Arnold? That is literally one of my favorite, probably my favorite image of Arnold. That's peak Arnold, 1974, when he was legit, like at his peak, in my opinion. Um, all right, so it is. Let me see here. I just want to make sure that I'm live on all the places. All right, I'm on live on StreamYard. I'll make sure I'm live on Face Bizzles. Okay, looks like I'm live on Instagram. Internet is a little slow, so you have to bear with me for anybody who's watching in the future. Because I'm almost certain no one is watching right now, which is totally okay because I'm not doing it. I'm not doing these daily live at 5. It's all last week, Monday through Friday, and then this week, Monday through Friday. I'm not doing the live at 5s for the views, because I want to try to find viewers right now. I'm planting the seed and doing the work and being consistent in actually creating content, getting online, getting live, going live rather, and being consistent with it. That's the purpose of doing what I'm doing. And there's other purposes as far as being able to document myself in real time, documenting my journey. I had this idea for anybody who's just tuning in. I had this idea. Today is Wednesday, September 4th, 2024, 5:03 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I had this idea 10 years ago when I was in my first year of grad school studying business. I've always wanted to be a very successful serial entrepreneur. And I just started learning when I was in business school to study very successful people. Because if you want to be good at anything, say whatever your favorite hobby is, or something that you love doing, how do you get good at something? Of course, you got to practice, but not one of the ways to get good at it is to find other people who have already mastered the skills that you're wanting to master, and then just do what they do. And you'll learn a lot faster. You'll grow a lot. You'll also be connected in a way within that kind of that hobby that you want to pursue, or that skill set or career that you want to, your vocation that you want to pursue. So that's where the genesis of me studying the lives of very successful serial entrepreneurs came from. Fast forward to today, that's one of the reasons why I'm doing these recordings here, is documenting my own journey. I also, if you're following me on any of the social medias, again, this might be right now, or maybe this is a week from now, month from now, a year from now, a decade from now, or whenever. If you're following my social media channels, mainly on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, I just posted today publicly some pictures, some actual pictures of where I currently am right now, physically, like health wise. Because I took that concept of, I wish somebody, this is back going to 2014, sorry to jump around, but 2014 is when I had the idea, hey, I wish somebody like a very successful serial entrepreneur, or maybe even a successful athlete, or somebody who really achieved mastery in whatever their skill set is or their field, I wish they would have documented their journey, because I think there's a lot of value in that. I think a lot of people could relate to it, especially people who are just getting started. Let's say if you really want to be an Olympic athlete, right? You want to go and compete in the Olympics in the marathon. Well, imagine if you're the best marathon runner. I don't even know who that is, but imagine if the very best marathon runner of all time documented their journey when they were very, very, very beginning, when they were like, nobody knew who they were. They're just getting started. Imagine how valuable that would be for you, who's embarking upon the same journey, if you're like watching or reading or listening to your hero, or the person who's achieved the highest level that possible, in your endeavors that you're wanting to embark upon yourself. If they left, a trail, that they blazed a trail to achieve what they wanted to achieve, and imagine having that, and being able to be inspired by that. So when the going gets tough, and again, the path and your own journey gets a little challenging, as is anything in life. You have that in your back pocket that you can pull out and listen to. And there's a sense of camaraderie there where you're like, man, if this person was able to scale and achieve the greatest heights, into something that I'm wanting to achieve, and I don't even care to go that high, or maybe if I want to go surpass that person, like, man, if they can do it, and if they even talk about it, having moments of doubt and second guessing themselves and being indecisive or struggling with this and all these different things, I'm in good company. I'm on the right path, right? So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this as well. It's also something that I can look back for myself. So because I love journaling, unfortunately, I've not made it a consistent habit to journal on a regular basis. I just haven't developed that. But I tell you what, there's been plenty of times where I have journaled, let's say with a course of around 14 plus years. I've kept journals periodically. I was never consistent up until this point with journaling, but I have come across my writings, these things, and they're like time capsules. It's like a boom, like an instant trip down memory lane whenever I would pick up one of my journals from whenever. And like, oh my gosh, I remember reading or writing this when I was sitting on a plane, from flying from Tel Aviv to, JFK, right? And I remember writing, I remember times when I was like living in Thailand and journaling about my time living in Thailand. And I remember, being in Egypt and journaling about, what I mean? So like being all around the world in different times of my life and just different seasons when I actually put pen to paper and actually wrote down something, for me, it was tremendously valuable because for one, it's just good reflection, and I'm like, wow, that's where I was during that period of time in my life, and look where I am right now. And so, unfortunately, because I've not done a good job on consistently writing and putting pen to paper, probably because I'm just lazy, and I haven't really prioritized like sitting down to write and make it a habit. One of the best things that I can do, and the easiest ways for me to journal, is just create a video journal. It's just to literally click record and start talking. So I've been doing that more often now. When I'm out on walks or something like that, or if I'm driving or in a car and I've had like have something come to mind, I'll just pull up my phone and just try to document it, record it. My storage for iCloud is like going through the roof right now. I'm already paying for 2 terabytes. I'm probably going to have to increase that here within the next couple of weeks, but it's good because at least for me, it's much easier to do. And it's easier for me to establish that habit of video, documenting through video than it is for me to put pen and paper. Plus, I'm still nomadic right now. I'll be traveling a lot over the next 6 months and even beyond. And so until I plant a flag in the Phoenix metropolitan area 6 months out from now, even then I'll still be traveling in and out of town. I don't want to have to be carrying around a bunch of stuff. I've pretty much simplified things and become a true minimalist in a sense, in a very real sense, because in the past 2.5 years, as many of you know, I've been living out of two suitcases, my backpack, and my ukulele. Like that's literally what I've been like lugging around with me for 2.5 years. So I've learned the importance of traveling light, and as light as I've gotten right now with my travel over the past 2.5 years, it still amazes me that after every single time I get ready to get up and go again and pack up, I'm usually giving stuff away, giving away a couple more books, shedding some more excess weight, which ties into what I wanted to talk about today. So I'm on day 4 right now of my 101-day challenge. And some people are like, well, what is that? Well, it's basically the main emphasis is to do a complete, total mind, body, soul reboot. How do I do that? Well, it's basically for the mind, there's something called autosuggestion. It's a very powerful concept. And the gentleman's name is Emil Quay. I always pronounce his name wrong. Okay, Emil, for all the French-speaking people out there, please forgive me. One of my aims in life is to be a polyglot, to be fluent in conversational languages in over 20 plus languages. Again, if you've been following and watching my other previous videos, or even if this is the first time you're tuning in and watching, like, who is this dude? I'm setting some very big, massive goals because why not? We're gonna die one day. I hope. I'm 39 years old right now. I'm about 6 months away from, or a little bit more. I turn 40 in May. I hope I live another 60 years. and make it to my 100th birthday. I really do. I never really thought like that until very recently, but I just started thinking about it, like, why not? I think it would be cool to be 100 years old, if I'm healthy and fit and strong. And that's one of the main emphasis of why I want to do this 101-day challenge now, to do a total commitment to achieve the optimal metabolic health that is necessary in order to be 100 years old, to be able to have that health. But this guy, Emil Koo, or anyways, before I forget, I'm setting some big, massive goals because it's things that inspire me, that drive me, right? And one of those goals is being fluent in 20 plus languages, spoken languages. French is one of them. Right now, I do not speak French. So for all my French speaking people out there, please forgive me. But this gentleman's name is Emil Koo, Emil Kwe. I don't know. It's Emile. That's his first name, Emile, I think. And then his last name is Coue. So he's a French psychologist and pharmacist. He was born in February 26, 1857, and he died July 2nd, 1926. There is a powerful book. Let me see something. Okay, real quick. This is just a simple Google search. So Emil Kwe, he's the first person, or first time I heard of the concept of autosuggestion. And it was in the book Think and Grow Rich, which is a classic. It's been around for over 100 years, written by Napoleon Hill. I almost said Napoleon Dynamite. Written by Napoleon Hill. And in that book, Think and Grow Rich, is is the very first time I heard the concept of autosuggestion. If you do not know what autosuggestion is right now, I mean, please prioritize and go and research what is autosuggestion, and also research this guy, Emil Kwe, Emile Coue. Sorry, Coue, Emil Kwe. If you do not know what autosuggestion is, if you've never heard of what that term is, go and do yourself a favor. And especially if you're a parent or going to be a parent or you're married, go do yourself a favor and go and start learning what autosuggestion is like right now. Let me read you briefly what his theory is. According to Kwe, Emil Kwe, repeating words or images enough times causes a subconscious mind to absorb them. And he was able to cure a lot of people through this. The cures were the result of being imagination of positive autosuggestion to the exclusion of one's own willpower. Folks, when I first read this around 10 years ago, that's the first time I picked up Think and Grow Rich. And a big part of Think and Grow Rich is actively programming the subconscious mind. I didn't even know what the heck the subconscious mind was, let alone autosuggestion, let alone the importance that we actively program what goes into our subconscious mind. I had no idea about that. I had no idea what it was at all, whatsoever. And again, if you do not know what autosuggestion is, do yourself a favor, and also you're welcome. I'm glad I'm the one to introduce you to the power of autosuggestion, because, folks, the subconscious mind is pretty much what controls our everyday lives. It just, when things, when messages, whether they're true or false, when they make themselves their way into the subconscious mind, it just starts becoming habit. It's habitual thinking. A lot of the things, pretty much everything that we do in life is that's habit. Is pretty much has made itself into the subconscious mind, to where now we don't even have to think about it. But the power is, we can actively program what goes into our subconscious mind. One of the most famous phrases, and it's the first time I heard about autosuggestion, in that book, Think and Grow Rich, referring to Emil Kwe, his famous phrase, tagline that he would have his patients constantly repeat. He would prescribe them this: every single day, right before you go to bed, say the following phrase 20 times. Say it out loud so your subconscious mind can actually hear it. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Do that. Say that 20 times out loud. Even if you don't believe in it, just say it out loud and say it with confidence. Just say it. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Say that 20 times, repeated. Like, just repeat it 20 times right before going to bed. And when you wake up, say it again 20 times. What's going to happen when you do that consistently is your subconscious mind's going to pick up on that messaging, and it's going to start transforming the way you actually think at a subconscious level, and it's going to start changing. It's crazy how this works, folks. I did this as part of this experiment when I was in Houston last summer. I was in Houston last summer for about, I got there like in early June, and I was there till the very end of November. So I was there for almost 6 months. But this is something that I did almost every day. I got there, and I started doing this 2 weeks after I got there. So I started doing this like towards the end of June, beginning of July. I made this a habit every single day, and it combined with everything else that I did, this served as like a strong foundation and a layer to start being able to launch into other, impacting all the different categories of my life that I was looking to take aim at and make improvements in. So when I talk about I'm doing my 101 day challenge, I'm on day 4 right now. The purpose of it is really to do a whole body, mind, body, soul reset. And so, how do you reset the mind? Literally, the best way that I know is autosuggestion. It is actively programming the subconscious mind. It is learning to master yourself and master the mind through the power of autosuggestion. Emil Quay also has a book. I think it's called The Power of Self-Mastery Through Autosuggestion or something like that. But look him up again. Emile is his first name. His last name is Coue. If you're an Audible listener like me, I read his book by listening to it, which it's very fitting because that's part of the prescription that he was telling so many of his patients who would go and do it. And no matter what their ailment was, like physical ailments, physical stuff that was wrong with them, all kinds of stuff. And you can read it in his book. But they would go and do it, even if they thought it was silly. Like when I first heard about it, I thought it was silly. I was like, autosuggestion, this sounds stupid. These people are starting to be healed from all this stuff just through the power of autosuggestion. I started doing this last summer when I was in Houston. Unfortunately, I've got away from that, but that does not mean that it is not powerful and it is not effective. So again, if you have not heard of what autosuggestion is, if you don't already know what it is, go do yourself a favor, look it up. Look up Emil Quay or Emil Quay, however you say his name, Emile Coue. Go look it up. That's how you reboot your mind. That's like a good, strong start to actively do something. I like theory, but I like theory when it's backed up by direct application. And so there's too many theoretical books out there that, stuff that sounds nice, but doesn't work, because I'm looking for results. And folks, this does deliver the results. So how do you reset the mind? Autosuggestion. Repeat 20 times every day, every day and every way. I'm getting better and better. 20 times right before you go to bed, 20 times right when you wake up. Just do that repeatedly every day. It costs you nothing except for a couple of seconds. It takes like a minute to do that, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 3, depending on how fast or slow you're saying it. But it doesn't cost you much. You're laying there anyways, waiting to fall asleep. Why not fall asleep to saying to your, program your subconscious mind with the words every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. That's how I'm choosing to, over the next 101 days, to actively program and reboot my mind. Now, how am I going to reboot my body? I'm choosing to do, a whole bunch of different things, but the primary, the way that I'm looking to reboot my entire body is through a carnivore diet. I started a hyper carnivore diet. I kind of started phasing into it about 2 weeks ago. About a week and a half ago. I started phasing my way into more of a hyper carnivore diet. So hyper carnivore diet, it doesn't mean extreme. It actually is a little bit opposite. So hyper carnivore diet is an actual term. It's a legitimate term. You can look it up. Hyper carnivore diet is pretty much, it's a meat centric diet where you're eating at least 70, ideally 80, closer to 80% meat and animal based products. So meat, chicken, pork, seafood, animal fats like butter, ghee, tallow, lard, all things that come from an animal. And in that, you can also do dairy, eggs, cheeses, especially hard cheeses. I like, one of the cheeses I've really been just getting after is brie. I love brie now. Brie is really good. There's a lot of vitamin K2 in the brie cheeses, and especially the hard cheeses. So that's really good for your body, for your heart as well, and your arteries. So, um, and then on a hypercarnivore diet, you're eating upwards of 20% of your food intake is going to come from small amounts of veggies, fruits, and honey. So I started doing more of a hypercarnivore diet about a week and a half ago. To On Monday was when I really went, okay, let's eliminate. Basically, I'm going for not fully ketogenic right now, but I am definitely winding things down because where I'm aiming at is by September 18th. That's my day one of really going hard on just like no, like now I'm moving from hypercarnivore to carnivore, which is pretty much just all meat, seafood, animal fats, eggs, anything that comes from an animal, and then no sugar, no plants, no fruit, nothing. And that's pretty much a carnivore diet. Again, there's variations of carnivore diet. I'm doing what I call, there's hypercarnivore diet, and to me, I could be wrong, but to me, it kind of mimics or mirrors pretty much an animal-based diet. Pretty much, they're so related, close related. And then if you were to go further to the extreme end of carnivore, you get the lion diet. The lion diet is straight up red meat, salt, and water. That's it. I don't really feel the need to go to that far. Some famous people that have been able to heal their bodies on a lion diet and even just a carnivore diet, but especially the lion diet is Dr. Jordan Peterson and his daughter, Michaela Peterson. And then there is a growing body of people, albeit anecdotal, of people who are completely healing their bodies by eating a carnivore diet. It sounds freaking crazy, right? When you're like, what? Especially because if you grew up in the West or if you paid attention to in your biology class or your health class, there's always talks about the food pyramid. Oh, this is, you got to have, little low meat, low fat, and then you want to have, eat plenty of veggies, ideally an all veggie diet, and then your grains, and then your milk, and all this stuff. So, the typical American dietary guidelines, which I think are largely wrong, to be honest. And you're like, well, dude, you're morbidly obese, you're fat right now, you're out of shape. Yeah, I know, because I was largely following the stupid dietary guidelines of the American diet, and then quickly spun out of control into what we call the SAD diet, the standard American diet, SAAD, because it is sad what it does to the human body. We were not meant to eat that way, eat those foods. A lot of the foods and the ingredients, and this is me just pulling a thread on things that are interesting to me because it directly impacts my life and the life of my loved ones and just people in general. A lot of the ingredients that are like in everyday food products, especially processed foods here in the US, are like illegal in other countries. And yet Americans here, sadly, are gorging themselves on a lot of these foods that have all this crap that's actually illegal to put into products for human consumption in other countries. So I'm somebody who is of the opinion that Uncle Sam and the government does not always have your best interest in mind, especially when it comes to health. And so either you listen to the medical guidelines and continue to get sicker and just plow yourself full of drugs and make the pharmaceutical industries rich, or you learn how to how to basically take control of your own health and fitness and start being willing to challenge assumptions and challenge the status quo and challenge if what we've been taught and what we've learned, even if you're somebody who's in the medical industry. And hey, just because I believe that big pharma and big food don't have human beings' best interest in mind, they have profits as their best interest in mind, and the bottom line, not human beings' health. Just because I believe that, that doesn't mean that every single food group, or food company uh, is out to screw humanity over. That's not what I agree. I don't believe that. And same thing, people within the medical industry. I don't think if you're a doctor or traditionally trained doctor, or nurse or some kind of health practitioner that you're out to screw people. No, I don't believe that at all. But that doesn't change the fact that I believe that there are a lot of bad players, and big food and big pharma overall just does not have um, our best interest in mind. And so I've been meeting a lot of people, especially last summer when I was in Houston, and I first learned about the carnivore diet. I started with the ketogenic diet, and I started getting benefits. Like I started shedding weight like pretty fast. A lot of that's water weight. But then I started losing fat, which is good, obviously. And then right when I was on carnivore, or excuse me, I was on keto for a month of July in 2023. And then once I got into the beginning of August of 2023, this was last year, uh, even before then, like this is like the middle of July, I started getting a rash, like on my legs, on my chest, on my just all over, right? And then plantar fasciitis flaring up, and I was working out twice a day because I was doing a 75 hard challenge. So I was doing two 75 or two 45-minute workouts a day, 7 days a week. I wasn't going hard, but I was also super out of shape. I was doing primarily DDP yoga, walking 45 minutes a day, and just doing basic body weight workouts. And so that was my primary workout. But I started breaking out in this freaking nasty rash. And I'm like, how do I what the heck is this? Anyways, I ended up joining, I somehow, because I was researching a lot of people on YouTube, ketogenic diet, what's the most optimal way to heal the body. I found Dr. Sean Baker. Dr. Sean Baker is the person who actually coined the term a couple of years ago. He didn't create the diet. Before it was just called like the zero carb diet, but he's the one that actually coined the term the carnivore diet, and this is his book that he released a couple of years ago. I just bought it because even though I believe in a carnivore diet, and I believe that that's the best way for human beings to thrive and achieve optimal metabolic health, removing plants unless they're fermented, like in kimchi or sauerkraut, small amounts of fermented veggies for probiotics to feed the gut microbiome. But I think that I truly believe that the most optimal way for human beings to thrive and to heal their bodies is by eating mostly meat, primarily beef, ideally, and if possible, grass-fed, grass-finished beef. So it's not, the beef isn't plowed full of antibiotics and corn and just all this crap that companies are trying to do, because they're trying to, the faster they can go through heads of cattle and sell them, the more money they can make. And so it's a business, folks. It is a business. And this is coming from somebody who has a desire to be the greatest entrepreneur of all time, the greatest businessman of all time, right? If you're going to aim for something, why not aim high? Somebody's got to be the best and the greatest of all time, right? To me, it's like, okay, whether I get it or not is irrelevant, but hey, why not? You know what I mean? Like, I'm getting into this space anyways. It's kind of like, if you're getting into a sport, you say you love football and you're like, I want to be, Brady. Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. I know that shot's fired. I grew up a 49er fan, and I believe Joe Montana was the greatest quarterback of all time until Brady and the Patriots came back and beat the Atlanta Falcons. And then I realized, okay, yeah, Tom Brady's the GOAT. But that's like saying you're getting into sports, especially like football, and you're a quarterback, and you're like, hey, my aim is to go and be like, I want to beat, Brady, right? Like, you're just aiming for that high. But for somebody that's in business and has studied business and has studied a lot of these very successful serial entrepreneurs that have impacted our world in a major way, in a profound way, both for the better and for worse, it's easy for me to see when I look at Big Pharma and be like, most of these companies do not have people's best interests in mind. They're trying to make money. They have a product that they sell. And if people are sick, then they get to keep pushing their products on them. If people are healthy, they're out of business, or they have to try to sell them something else. Same thing with food, right? If people are eating mostly healthy, whole foods, right? Ideally, in my opinion, meat, chicken, pork, bison, elk, deer, eggs, cheese, and they're not eating stuff that comes in a prepackaged crap bag, that's been processed, highly processed, and there's tons of chemicals in it. Well, guess what? Those big food companies are out of business. They don't have any customers because everybody's moving away from that. They're eating more of the food that we're actually supposed to eat. They're eating more of a proper human diet. And that really where I've come to this, it's like, again, last year when I was in Houston, I got it down to where I was eating. I was pretty much eating like salmon, and I think I was eating beef. Salmon, beef, eggs were like my primary go-to meats, and then I was eating like the only carbs I was eating was like broccoli and cauliflower. And I remember I joined Dr. Sean Baker's. He has an online community, which is crazy. It's like Diet. That's the website. You get a 30-day free trial, and it's crazy because he's there. He has like live meetings like 5, 6 days a week for like an hour from like 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific time. And he's just there with like whoever's a part of the community. And you can just chat with him, ask him questions, and they're not big groups. So, anyways, I remember joining. I was like, yeah, 30-day trial. What the heck? Why not? It's free. I signed up that morning. I just saw that there happened to be a live meeting with Dr. Sean Baker. I was like, huh, what's this? So I click on the Zoom. It's literally him and just a handful of other people. It wasn't a lot of people. It was like probably no more than like 12 people. And you ever like that type of person who's like, don't want to be noticed? I'm like that by nature sometimes, and I was like, oh, dude, there's not a lot of people. And right away, I was just like, I couldn't click out fast enough. He's like, hey, David, what's going on? I was like, you're new here. I was like, oh, it's like, you can see me. But anyways, I was able to ask him. I was like, hey, doc, yeah, I'm on keto. I've been on keto for a week or a month, but I also started getting these, it's really bad body rash and this and that. I've got plantar fasciitis in my foot. He's like, yeah, well, if you go carnivore, a lot of all that stuff, the body rash and all the stuff, it'll clear up within less than a week, and so will the plantar fasciitis. He said, what's happening right now is your body's full of toxins, and it can't get rid of it fast enough, so it's just pushing it out through the skin, which is on one hand, it's not a good thing, but on the one hand, it's not good that your body's full of toxins. On the other hand, that it's now coming out of your skin. But on the other hand, it's actually good. It's a good sign that your body's cleansing itself. It's trying to heal. So he swayed me enough to at least give the carnivore diet a try. I only went for he recommended 90 days because he always recommends anybody, hey, if you're going to give the carnivore diet a try, give it 90 days. And in order for you to really see the health benefits, because you'll be pleasantly surprised at that how all these ailments and illnesses and pains, aches and pains you have will just start working themselves out and kind of healing from it. And he told me something too, because I was like, yeah, I started at, almost 300 pounds at the early July. And now, 5 weeks later, I'm down like 30, 40 pounds. And he's like, how tall are you? I was like, I'm 5'9". He's like, okay, if you haven't been diagnosed yet, he's like, you're probably type 2 diabetic. He's like, but contrary to popular medical opinion, type 2 diabetes is reversible through diet. He's like, if you stick to a carnivore diet, you give it 90 days, you'll reverse your type 2 diabetes just through eliminating the processed food, the sugars, the carbs, the seed oils. That alone, by just removing the crap and the poisons and the toxins, your body's gonna heal. But if you also give it the right medicines, like beef and healthy animal fats like butter, ghee, tallow, eggs for micronutrients, if you just give your body that, you're going to start healing and you won't be diabetic. The type 2 diabetes, won't be an issue anymore within a matter of a couple of months. And any other ailments you might have, you'll see that they're going to start healing on their own just by eating what you should be eating. And surprise, it's not all these highly processed foods, right? So anyways, here I am. I did that. By the way, I lost about 80 pounds total last year. I also did a 30-day water fast. Probably like from the end of September to the end of October, I did a 30-day water fast. So literally no food for 30 days, just water. Followed up by 1 week of a refeed, followed up immediately by 3 days of a dry fast, followed up by a 4-day dry fast, followed up the next week by another 3-day dry fast. So I don't recommend that to people. I'm not afraid to experiment with myself. But I did that for a lot of reasons. I've been researching about the health benefits of fasting. I definitely got deep into the health benefits of a carnivore diet by following all these different doctors, cardiologists, heart surgeons that are all talking about the carnivore diet being the proper way for human beings to eat so that you don't have to have a heart attack, a stroke, kidney disease, type 2 diabetes, dementia, like all these different things that the current medical community says is irreversible and there is no cure. There's a handful of doctors who are orthopedic surgeons, neurosurgeons, heart surgeons, cardiologists, nutritionists. Like these people are not slouches, and yet they're all saying it's, yeah, the carnivore diet. It's going to heal your body, you know, as well, especially if you start changing the rest of your life and you start getting active and exercising and all that stuff. So, anyways, I was already bought into the carnivore diet that this I've experienced enough of it to know that this has major benefits. But that's where I'm fast forwarding now. I lost a lot of weight, but I didn't do the full reset of my brain, of my mindset. So I ended up packing it back on over the course of this past year, from like December till now. Just kind of lost, not kind of, I did just lost self-control, and just and that's where I was like, why the heck do I always like gain weight, like yo-yo? I'm, many people can relate. Some people lose weight and they keep it off forever, which is awesome. Some people never even have to lose weight because they're constantly disciplined. That's awesome. Discipline equals freedom. I'm all about it. Took me too long to finally be about it. But hey, better late than never. And then some people like myself, have to lose weight. They lose weight, but then they gain it back. They lose weight, then they get it back. Just kind of yo-yo back and forth, the yo-yo dieting kind of thing. And so one of the good things, I think, for me, that even though was it a good thing that I gained all this weight back that I lost over the past, 9 months or 8 months? No, it's not good at all, actually. But one of the benefits is I know how to heal the body through proper diet, which I believe, again, is the Carnivore Diet by Sean Baker. Get this book. There's other people that you can find. There's a ton of carnivore doctors all over YouTube, all over social media. But I figured, even though I am bought in, I've listened to tons of, interviews and engaged with a lot of these doctors in their communities. Why not just get a book and start reading on it as well, so I can really, really understand the ins and outs of the carnivore diet and how it's healing the body and all this different stuff. But another benefit is I can share my journey because I know that it's going to help other people. Last weekend, I had a family reunion for my mother's family, my grandma's side. So my mother's mother, we had a family reunion. And even just within the past couple, a few days of seeing family that I've not seen in 10 years since the last family reunion in 2014, just through the normal course of conversation, of reconnecting with these different family members, I've heard people sharing with me not even bringing it up. They just brought it up, man, yeah, I want to get serious about my health. I want to start changing my health habits. I really need to get healthy. I know I need to take my health seriously. And I'm like, whoa, all right, cool. I'm not the only one. And so I was already dialed in and committed to doing this lifestyle change for myself and then for my future family. But I thought, you know what, maybe me sharing my health journey and me, sharing publicly, maybe that will help people as well. People who know that they want to make some health or changes to their health, improve their health, and transform their lives, especially with their health. If me sharing what I'm learning and sharing my journey, even though it might be a little, I don't even want to say embarrassing, because I freaking took my shirt off like 2 days ago in live. So it's not even embarrassment. It's more of like me being willing to put myself out there, right? If me putting myself out there will result in helping even just one person say, hey, you know what, if this guy can freaking take his shirt off and post pictures of him while he's still fat and still unhealthy and still hasn't arrived yet, you know what, I'm going to do it too. I'm going to get healthy and do the work that is necessary for me to heal my own body and to take care of, take control of my own health. It's easy for somebody when they finally arrived to turn around and then talk about their journey. I'm like, oh, look at where I started back there. It's a little bit more like, when you're when you're still fat and you're like at the bottom of the hill, you're like, yeah, that's the mountain I'm going to climb. I'm literally like in the parking lot right now. I'm just like, I haven't even done anything yet. I'm still putting on my gear. I haven't even left the parking lot yet. That's where I am right now. And that's okay, because I already know the vision that I have of myself in the not too distant future is this Arnold. Just kidding. I'm not trying to look like Arnold, but I am going to be competing in all natural bodybuilding. And that's just another strategy for me to stay honest. It's one thing to be like, oh yeah, I'm getting healthier, I'm getting fit, I'm losing weight. That's great. Like, I'm going to be continually doing routine blood work, getting my blood drawn, doing a full year analysis, so I can get a full understanding of what's going on internally. Because if you ever struggled with your weight, getting a little too big, I made a mistake for so long. I'm 39 now. For most of my life, I made a mistake by gauging my health according to the weight, the number on the scale, of what I see when I step on the scale, or what, how my clothes are fitting or not fitting. That's not really, I mean, those are helpful, but that's not really a true snapshot and an understanding, like the best way to tell if you're actually, what kind of metabolic health you're in. If you're metabolically healthy or metabolically unhealthy, the best way is to go get some blood work done, which I did a week and a half ago. And it's thankfully so easy now. You can just do it on your own. You can just order stuff online a la carte. There's tons of places you can go get your lab work done all around the country. I use ownyourlabs.com. I have no affiliation with them, but that's where I found in a book that I was reading by a cardiologist, Dr. Philip Oveda, who also is a strong proponent of a carnivore diet. His book is called Stay Off My Operating Table. Very interesting read if you're interested in pulling the string on this, and if you're trying to figure out what's the most optimal way for human beings to eat. Because according to, it gets loud out there. You have the prevailing medical community who is hammering home, oh, eat plants only, meat bad. And yet chronic illnesses and diseases continue to skyrocket. So it's like, I'm willing to challenge the status quo, because I've challenged the status quo many times in my life. And oftentimes I found that the status quo is wrong. And so that's eventually what allowed me to be open-minded enough to entertain the carnivore diet. I recommend you start with carnivore diet, or at least start learning, not from, if you're going to look at the carnivore diet, which I recommend anybody and everybody does. I have nothing to gain from this. I have no affiliation with any kind of carnivore products or anything like that. I just think that if you want to live an optimal life and you want to heal your body I don't want to be on a ton of medication, and you want to be your best, and flourish and be, achieve optimal metabolic health, look at the carnivore diet. But do the honest research and look into it. Don't learn about the carnivore diet from a vegan. Like, that's stupid, right? Why would I do that? Why would you do that? If I want to learn about veganism and what the benefits, if any, from about of a vegan diet, I'm not going to learn about a vegan diet from a carnivore, unless the carnivore was a vegan. Then that's a different thing. But I want to go and hear who are the strong proponents and spokesmen, physicians that are all proponents of a vegan, a solely, wholly, 100% vegan diet. I want to hear it from a vegan. So if you're going to learn about the carnivore diet, literally, Dr. Sean Baker wrote the book on the carnivore diet. He's the one that coined the phrase, the carnivore diet. But there's other people like Dr. Anthony Chaffee. He also has a plant-free MD podcast. You can find Dr. Anthony Chaffee on social media, YouTube channel. He's got a lot of great interviews on there, a lot of guests, pretty awesome guests and a lot of great interviews. There's also Dr. Sean O'Mara. He's awesome. Another great physician. He used to be the physician for at least 3, if not 4 U.S. presidents. And dude is awesome. He's in his early to mid 60s right now, but he's still, at least last time I checked a couple months ago, he's still part of the, he's an officer in the Army National Guard. So he does it part-time, the Guard, but he's a physician, and a researcher. So he's another one to follow. Dr. Kiltz. These are all people you can find on social media. Bart Clay, I think he's also a PhD, a doctor. There's a ton of other people out there, but once you pull the thread, you're going to start. It'll go deep, and you'll start. You might be surprised and shocked what you learn if you're doing the honest research. So, anyways, back to day 4 of my 101 day challenge. The purpose of doing the 101 day challenge for me is to do a full body reset, mind, body, soul. So we already addressed the mind. How do you reset the mind? It's through the main one is through autosuggestion. The second way, how do you reset the body? I believe it's the proper human diet, which I tend to believe that a proper human diet is a carnivore diet, or at least a hyper carnivore diet, where it's 80% mostly meat and animal-based products, meat, fish, chicken, poultry, eggs, animal fat, and then 15 to 20%, the rest coming from small amounts of fermented veggies, fruits, honey. So that's how you do the full body reset, or the body side of the reset, in addition to simple things, depending on where your athletic level is and where your health and fitness levels are. Simple things like walking, go walk, especially if you're out of shape, just start walking if you can, or walk a little bit. DDP yoga, that is an awesome program that you can do from anywhere. So there's no excuses. I also invested into the X3 bar, and I'm going to be doing that for strength training, and I also have the knees over toes. I'm going to be doing that program as well. These are some of the things aside from the X3 bar, DDP yoga, walking, and the knees over toes were some of the training programs that I did last summer when I was in Houston, and I had phenomenal benefits. It's just I had some other things that I needed to deal with that took me, a couple of months that I had to actually learn how to overcome and work my way through these things, so that now I come out on the other side and all the better for it. And then the last thing is, how do I do the total body reset? Mind, body. Now, how do we do the soul? Well, for me, I'm an Orthodox Christian, and thankfully, the Orthodox Church makes it pretty simple, and as far as what the church prescribes. It's like, if you're going to be an Orthodox Christian, these are the basic fundamentals that you do to be an Orthodox Christian, to grow in the spiritual life, to nurture your soul. Go to the liturgy, go to the divine services, keep your prayer roll. When you go to liturgy, go, receive Holy Communion, go to confession frequently, read the scriptures, read the lives of the saints. It's not rocket science. It's not like standing on top of a roof with my head upside down on my head, or, doing some really hard, physical, spiritual asceticism. It's just the basics. It's just the basics. Focus on doing the basics and just being more present, be more mindful, not rushing to my prayers, and seeing it as like a task that I have to spend time with God. It's like, no, I get to spend time with who I believe and proclaim to be the creator of the entire universe. It's like, how cool is that I can actually spend time with the creator in the morning, early in the morning before the sun rises, and then in the evening before I knock out, for the day. So those are the main ways that I'm doing in this 101 day challenge to do my full body reset of the mind, body, and soul. I mentioned that I lost 80 pounds last summer when I was in Houston, and I gained it all back. Well, how did I do that? Right. And maybe you're somebody that has dealt with yo-yo dieting, where, you have weight to lose and you lose it, but then you gain it back again and then you lose it, or, you're just struggling. You're like, and maybe you don't even have any problems with your weight, but maybe there's other areas of your life that you have issues with, where like it's for some reason, for the life of you, maybe it's some kind of addiction. Maybe it's shopping, like you just can't help yourself. You just got to buy stuff. Right. I've been in people's homes where like they buy stuff and it's like not even opened yet. And it's just like the dopamine hit. They get the dopamine hit by buying stuff, especially Amazon, because you get the stuff that shows up on your doorstep like within 2 hours or something like that, right? Or maybe it's another addiction. Maybe you're addicted to sex or porn, or maybe you're addicted to alcohol. You're not addicted to food, but you're addicted to all of these other things. Or maybe you're addicted to gossip, you're addicted to money, or whatever it is that you're addicted to. Like, how do you break out of that? How do you break free from all this stuff so then you can actually live a more meaningful, fulfilling life, and you're not enslaved to what the Orthodox Church calls the passions, right? The passions that ensnare us. What ensnares me, what the traps that keep me, that ensnare me, that's catch me off guard and like kind of have a grip on me, they may not be the same thing for you. Maybe you're like super fit, you never had an issue with food addiction, you never were fat or never out of shape. Great. But if you're a human being, there's probably other things, unless you've ascended and have have become a saint. Chances are, since you're a human being, you've got something or multiple somethings that ensnare you that maybe not an issue to me, right? And this is not an issue of like pointing, well, you're sucks or you're worse, you got really this is really bad. So you're worse than me. You suck worse than I do. It's not that at all. My whole aim in life is like, how do we live as human beings that have for however much time we have left on this earth? How do we make it meaningful and fulfilling? How do we live a life to where we are excited about getting up every morning because we get to go do this, we get to live life, we get to do more of the things that we really enjoy. And then, as hard as it is, how do we get excited to go to bed, even though we love being awake because we get to do all this stuff that we really enjoy doing? But how do we get to go to bed every night because we get to go up, get up the next day and do this again? That's been something that's been really on my mind. I've been really wanting to work and help people with, because I've been able to some degree have been able to help people at least identify the things that they want in life and that they're actually interested in doing. Most people, I've had conversations with thousands and thousands of people from all walks of life. What I found personally, and this could be just anecdotal, and it is, but from my personal experience, most people I talk to don't have a clue what they want in life. Like they do not have a clear, strong sense of purpose that drives them. And I identified that years ago when I was still living in Oregon, long before I moved to Arizona. That's where I first got the idea of building an educational platform that helps people to not only identify what makes them come alive, what lights them up and really will drive them. So nobody has to force them to do this. Nobody has to tell them, hey, you got to do this, you got to go to work, or hey, you got to do this. No, they're so driven because they found basically their purpose in life. And so that's where the vision that I had years ago when I was still an Oregonian of building an educational platform which helps people to understand, because these things to me should be fundamental. They should be fundamental for all human beings everywhere, especially taught in educational schools, K to 12, even preschool. The earlier the better. And they're not. And not only finding purpose and understanding what your purpose is. Do you even know what purpose is? How are we even defining purpose? But then once you identify, okay, now I know where I want to set my life's compass to. Now it's all about developing the skill sets to get there, right? To realize this vision that you have for your life, to get closer and closer to the peak that you're looking to ascend to. So that's what has been driving me for so long to build this educational platform that provides people with what I call the fundamental life skills to navigate life in the modern world. Now, many of you know that I had this idea, and then about 4 years ago when I moved to Arizona, I put it on the back burner. I started focusing on other things in life at the time. But fast forward 4 years later, I realized, I put this on a back burner, not because I had other priorities to deal with at the time, but it's because I wasn't ready. I didn't believe in myself. I just did not. I had a lot of limiting beliefs. And so I want to tie this back and on this note, I mentioned if you had a food addiction, right? Or if you're a human being and you have a pulse, chances are you have something. Even if it's not an addiction, you have something that you tend to run to that's your comfort. For me, for my whole life, it's been food. And at different times in my life, it's been other things. But for you, you know what it is. You don't need to share, but there's at least one thing, and maybe a couple things, and hopefully that you've developed, and I develop over time, healthy outputs or outlets to where we find ways to cope and ways to turn our attention to that. It's not going to be destructive. But chances are, if you're a human being, because we live in a fallen world, there's a good chance that you have something that's not a healthy habit, or a healthy something that you got to get over, even if it's just a way of thinking. So how do we get over, whether it's actual habits that we have, or even like doing actions, or even the habit of thinking, if it's wrong thinking? One of the best ways is, I mentioned it earlier, autosuggestion. Learning to actively reprogram your subconscious mind, so your subconscious mind starts driving you differently, and you start living differently, you start thinking differently, and you will start acting differently and believing differently. It'll take time, to break away and to heal from that. I think ultimately, while I believe that autosuggestion is a powerful tool, ultimately I think the healing comes from God. Like I said, I'm an Orthodox Christian, and so I believe that a lot of this is divine help, that God comes in, helps us to heal from these things by his grace. but he also gives us tools, things like autosuggestion, learning about what autosuggestion is and how can we leverage, how can I, as an Orthodox Christian, or if you're a Christian, or even if you don't have any, if you're not Christian at all, how can you use these different tools to help to heal yourself, heal you the way you think, to change the way you're thinking, so you can change your behaviors and you can change your beliefs and you can change your habits. And by doing that, you change your life. Wow, right? If you change the way that your subconscious mind is thinking, over time, you're going to start changing the way you believe. You're going to change the way you feel. You're going to change the way you think. You're going to change the way you act. You're going to change the way you behave. You're going to change your habits. And lo and behold, as you continue to just do the work, you'll look up one day and realize, wow, I do not recognize who I am, because I used to be that person. And that is like a nightmare of who I used to be. And who I am today is completely different from who that person. I don't even recognize that person. I barely recognize myself. And you'll probably find that people around you won't recognize you either, in a good way, because you'll be so different. You'll be so changed. So anyways, hope that helps. And if not, like I said, I'm doing this because for my own purposes. It's a lazy man's way to journal. I unfortunately just have not made the habit of putting pen to paper consistently every single night or every single morning to journal, to create a huge volume of my writings, of just journaling and my thoughts. Although it is beneficial, like I said earlier, I really do love picking up a random journal to any random page and just instantly go back in time. I'm like, wow, I remember where I was when I wrote that and what was going on in my mind and what I was feeling. Very valuable. But like I said, I just haven't developed the habit. And thankfully, stuff like this makes it very easy to just hit record and start talking. And it basically is a journal. And anyways, tomorrow I'll be back on live at 5 for Thursday, September 5th, which will be day 5 of my 101 day challenge. By the way, it's going so far so good. I mean, I have experience with doing a carnivore diet. Last year I did it for about, I want to say, almost 2 months. I did it for a month and a half. And then from like the beginning of August towards the end of September. And I would have gone and done it straight, but I also wanted to really test myself. I've always wanted to do a 40-day water fast. And I saw a small window of time for me to do that when I was in Houston, because the conditions were right. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And so I aimed to do a 40-day water fast. I made it to day 30 and my body was like, bruh, it's time to eat. And so I didn't make it. I did not achieve my original goal of, fasting, just doing a water fast for 40 days. So not consuming anything other than water for 40 days. I didn't achieve that goal, but I fell short and landed at 30 days, which I'm pleased with. And that's just, not only did I believe that there's a tremendous amount of healing benefits that I gained during that 30 days, but I also gave myself tangible proof that I can recall and point to and say, I have the ability to do very difficult and hard things. Because most people in their right minds would never voluntarily do a 30-day water fast. Most people won't even probably do a 30 water fast, a 30-hour water fast, or a 3-day water fast, right? Willingly, against against their own will. They might out of necessity, God forbid. But if people find themselves in a difficult situation, they might have to. But most people would not willingly go and do a 30-day water fast, followed up after a week of refeed so I did a 30-day water fast, ate for a week, and then I did a 3-day dry fast, ate for 4 days, did a 4-day dry fast, ate for 3 days, did another 3-day dry fast, ate for 4 days, and I've not fasted since. And that was like towards the end of November, right before Thanksgiving. So I have something tangible that I can, look back to and say, man, I did some very difficult things. And they say, I'm waiting for the studies, because I've been around other people who dry fast. I discovered this world of dry fasters last year from around the world, literally. And there's talks of people were saying that 1 day of dry fasting is you're not consuming anything. You're not dry fasting when you're dry fasting, you are not eating any food, you are not drinking any liquids. And then there's even more extreme versions of the dry fast, which they call a hard dry fast, which is you don't let any kind of water touch your skin because your skin can absorb it, right? So you're not taking showers, you're not washing your hands, you're not brushing your teeth, you're not washing your face. You don't even like go outside, in case hits, your skin absorbs some of the water, if it's misty outside or rainy. I never did all that. Like, I ain't trying to get all crazy, you know what I mean? Even with the carnivore diet, there are going to be people who are be super extreme or like, oh, that's not carnivore because blah, 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 blah. Like, bro, I'm not interested in being a purist. Okay. Whether it's with diet, whether it's with fasting, whatever. Like, I'm trying to maintain balance. Like most things in life, I think the key is balance. So, uh, I don't, when I go back to, what I did last year, I have tangible proof because people said that 1 day of dry fasting is equivalent to 3 days of water fasting. So I fasted for 30 days and I'm doing a water fast. And then combined, I did 10 days combined of dry fasting. So if 1 day of dry fasting is equivalent to three days of water fasting, then I pretty much am did about 60 days of fasting last year, which is intense. But anyways, again, that's tangible proof that I can do hard and difficult things. And I've also discovered the healing power of fasting and how it, like the ability and the power, the superhouse power that is. It's a superpower, really, when you really understand how you can, vary your fasting from wet to dry and from, different time frames and how you want to fast, how long you want to fast for, depending on what the reason is. And I've also discovered the power of the carnivore diet, eating a mostly meat-based diet, eliminating sugar, as much as possible, especially added sugar, eliminating processed foods, eliminating seed oils, and then eliminating carbs, which I'm going to do within the next 2 weeks. I'm still eating a little bit of carbs, not bread, pastas, and noodles, but I'm eating a little bit of carbs because I eat a small amount of fruit, like dates, pineapple, watermelon. That's about it. And I eat fresh garlic cloves. I chop those up and put them into my food. And then I eat a little bit of yogurt and small amounts of honey. I'm getting my CGM, my continuous glucose monitor, probably tomorrow. It should be coming in the mail. And that's another reason why I actually want to not cut off fruit yet, because I want to actually, once I put the CGM on myself, I want to be able to track in real time right now how my body's responding to whenever I eat watermelon, whenever I eat pineapple, whenever I eat dates, whenever I eat honey, whenever I eat yogurt, mainly the carbohydrate stuff and the stuff, especially that has a sugar in it. I want to monitor and see how my body's responding to that and get a baseline now. And then once I eliminate them and then test them, down the road, maybe in a couple months from now, little by little, start increasing or intaking some fruit again. And some honey. I want to be able to track on my CGM and my app how it's affecting my body in real time. And then I'll be able to know and not even just those foods, but all foods. I want to see how everything that I eat, everything that I drink, I want to be able to track and see how it's impacting my body and my blood sugars, like in real time. So anyways, until tomorrow, hope you're all having a wonderful day, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.